Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a seriously fascinating journey straight into the human mind. We are going to systematically dismantle a concept that has honestly probably held you or someone you know back for years. I'm talking about the deeply ingrained myth of fixed genetic intelligence. For decades, society has basically fed us this story that the intelligence you're born with is just the intelligence you're stuck with. But as we'll see today, when we look at the actual data and historical evidence, that simply isn't true. By the end of our time together, you're going to see exactly how intelligence is built, not just inherited.
Think about names like Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison. When we hear them today, our brains instantly go to genius. But what's absolutely incredible is how they actually started out. When Einstein was a kid, his teachers literally called him slow and firmly believed he just wasn't intelligent. And Thomas Edison, he was actually pulled out of school because his teachers told his mother he would never be able to grasp the concepts. Yet these two guys fundamentally changed how the entire world thinks and operates. So what happened? Did their genetics just magically change overnight? Definitely not. What changed and what they actively cultivated were their daily habits. It was their habits that fundamentally altered how their brains functioned.
Okay, let's dive into this completely new definition of what makes someone smart. Intelligence is not a fixed genetic gift. It doesn't stay exactly the same when you're 15, 25, or 50. Instead, true intelligence is a completely malleable skill. It's the direct byproduct of specific, active, daily habits that chemically and physically change how your brain processes information. You aren't just handed a powerful brain, you build it, step by step.
So here's our treasure map for today. First, we'll ask, is IQ really fixed? Then we'll cover dropping distractions, how to write and connect ideas, improving your memory, and finally, we'll wrap up with the ultimate secret to real intelligence.
All right, section 1. Is IQ fixed? Let's tackle the myth of fixed intelligence. So, in our modern world, we've developed this really dangerous misconception. Most of us think that to get smarter, we just need to consume more and more information. Endless videos, more articles, more scrolling. But neuroscience paints a completely different picture. Your brain actually gets significantly smarter when it's forced to think with zero external inputs. When you cut off that endless stream of data, your brain finally has to step up and do the heavy lifting itself. Moving into section 2, drop distractions, try it yourself. This is phase 1, input and independence. Habit number 1 is rooted in this very specific number, 20 to 30. Model studies are showing that people who regularly engage in undistracted thinking score way higher in problem-solving and creative intelligence. Think back to Einstein for a second. He used to go on these long walks, alone, for hours. No books, no notes, no inputs. Just his imagination running wild. So here's your challenge. Practice 20 to 30 minutes of silent walking every single day. No phone, no music, no podcasts. At first, it's going to feel incredibly boring and uncomfortable. You might even have a minor panic attack without your favorite podcast in your ear. But lean into that. That uncomfortable silence is the exact environment where your intelligence physically grows. Which leads us perfectly into habit number 2. Try it yourself before asking for help. Imagine you're working on a giant puzzle. If someone immediately jumps in and hands you the exact piece you need, did your brain actually learn anything? No way. Your brain gets stronger when it tries, when it fails, and when it's forced to try again. Making mistakes isn't some glaring sign that you aren't smart enough. Making mistakes and trying again is the literal method you use to build intelligence. So don't rush to Google the answer the second you get stuck. Let your brain wrestle with the problem first. And this brilliantly illustrates Benjamin Franklin's specific method. He applied this exact concept to build his own incredible intellect. He'd read a text, deliberately snap the book shut, and then force himself to write down exactly what he learned without looking back. Even if he got it wrong, he tried it completely independently first. He forced his brain to retrieve that information on its own, which builds massive, massive neural strength. All right, let's jump to section 3, write and connect. This is phase 2, processing and connecting. This brings us to habit number 3. Look, most of us use writing completely the wrong way. We use it like a computer hard drive, just jotting things down so we don't forget them. But incredibly smart people? They use writing as a tool for deep thinking. When you write, it naturally slows down that overwhelming, racing speed of your thoughts. It pulls you out of overthinking and forces you to focus intensely on one single idea. When you put a pen to paper, an image of that thought automatically forms in your brain. So start keeping a daily thinking journal. Ask yourself, what do I actually understand about this? Or what's confusing me right now? You're not just storing facts, you're actively thinking on the page. That natural curiosity builds right into habit number 4. Connect the dots by learning everything. Intelligent people don't just put blinders on and stick to one single subject. They actively learn topics way outside their usual classes or their day jobs. Why? Well, because the brain is basically a giant connection machine. When you force your brain to take totally different, wildly unrelated concepts and connect them together, magic happens. The more connections your brain makes, the faster it begins to think and process new information. You become incredibly mentally agile. On to Section 4, Improve Memory and Rest. We are now in Phase 3, Retention and Recovery. Habit number 5 is all about your memory. I hear this all the time. Oh, I just have a terrible memory, like it's some sort of permanent flaw. Listen to me on this. Memory is not a natural talent that you're either blessed with or you're not. It is a muscle. Just like lifting weights at the gym, the more actively you use it and the more resistance you put against it, the stronger it gets. You absolutely have the power to train your memory. And here is the absolute best way to train that memory muscle. Step 1, learn something new. Step 2, put the material completely away, totally out of sight. And step 3, go teach that concept to a friend. When you take on the role of a teacher, your brain completely shifts gears. It can't just passively hold on to facts anymore. It has to logically organize the whole thing to explain it clearly. Teaching literally forces your brain to truly understand the material, making you significantly smarter along the way. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the breakdown of Charles Darwin's typical day. Darwin is without a doubt one of the most consequential thinkers in human history, right? Yet look at his schedule. He only formally worked about 4 to 5 hours a day. The massive remaining chunk of his time, like 19 to 20 hours, was spent resting, going on walks, and just completely recharging. This brings us right to habit number 6, giving the brain proper rest. Because your brain doesn't actually upgrade when it's frantically running. It upgrades when it's at rest. So to properly execute habit 6, you really need to nail down these 3 things. First, prioritize full, adequate sleep every single night. No compromises there. Second, get outside and get natural sunlight every day. And third, and honestly, maybe the most important one in our modern age, allow yourself to experience pure boredom. We treat boredom like a disease that needs to be instantly cured with a quick social media scroll. But boredom is not a weakness. Boredom is a crucial recharging period where your subconscious mind categorizes information, builds new neural pathways, and quite literally upgrades your intelligence. And that brings us to Section 5. Let's uncover the real secret to intelligence. The absolute crucial point is this. If you truly want to build a remarkably strong mind, you have to stop relying on the excuse of genetics, and you have to stop endlessly hoarding passive information, hoping it somehow makes you a genius. Instead, you need to make a complete shift toward building active, daily habits. Step away through the noise. Try to solve problems completely on your own. Write to think. Connect wildly diverse subjects. Teach others. And please, embrace rest and boredom. True intelligence is never just handed to you. It's built by what you choose to do every single day. So, I want to leave you with this one vital question. Out of the 6 habits we explored in this explainer today, which habit are you going to change right now? Seriously, don't wait for tomorrow. Pick one, step away from the distractions, and start upgrading your brain today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you on the next explainer.